minute. T minus 50 seconds. T minus 40 seconds. T minus 30 seconds. Minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
ExpaTalk is a podcast run by Natasha Tynes and Zyad Rasheed, two journalists of Arab origin based in North America. The podcast focuses on issues related to Arab affairs and of interest to Arabs across the globe. We interview entrepreneurs, artists, luminaries, and those who are working on exciting endeavors. Join us on this adventure as we talk to those who inspire us and make us think differently about the world. The podcast streams live on YouTube and can be heard on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Hello everyone, this is Zyad Rasheed speaking to you live from Ottawa. Today I will be interviewing a very renowned Jordanian-American young director. He started in an early age and now he's walking steadily in firm steps toward fame and reputation. Our guest today's name is Amin Matalqa. Amin Matalqa makes films that bridge the cultural gap between East and West. His first feature film, Captain Abu Raif, won the Sundance Film Festival Award and also was Jordan's entry to the Oscars. The award for Sundance was in 2008. Then he produced The United. He directed and wrote The United, with which was his third feature film, and then Strangely in Love, and after that he made The Rendezvous, and also he was part of the direction team that participated in Netflix show Jinn, and now he's working on Hump. This is what's coming up next. He is directing his first animated film, and it is called Hump. It's about a sweet camel who crosses the Arabian desert searching for his girl. Also in development are Fuji Hassel, a Midwest set ping-pong hustle film with a Syrian refugee in the lead, and a new TV show. Amin lives in Los Angeles with his fiancée Meg and their baby Zoe and husky beast Migo. Between films, he teaches directing at the American Film Institute, from which he also has MFA in directing. Joining me in presenting this show today is Natasha Tynes. She's coming, as you know, from Maryland, the United States of America. She will be joining me now to talk about Amin Matalqa. Natasha, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Zyad. How are you doing?
I'm very well. How's everything today?
Very good. I'm really excited about our guest.
So, Amin, Natasha, can you tell us what do you know about Amin?
Sure. So I started following Amin's journey in early 2000s. I don't know how I found out about him. I think I was looking online, and I found out about this young Jordanian who was making short movies, and I started watching the movies, and they were really nice. And back then, I had, somehow a popular blog, and I blogged about Amin, and I was like, "Hey, everyone! I found this Jordanian guy," and I started like linking to his short movies. And I was pleasantly surprised that his short movies or my blog post resonated with my audience, and they all wanted to know more. They started getting in touch with him, and then I knew that he has had a bright future back then. So I kept in touch with him, and I followed his journey, and I was really honored by the fact that he shared the first manuscript of his script for his first movie, Captain Abu Raif. And I was really humbled and honored. So I read the first manuscript, and I gave him my feedback, and then I watched
So Captain Abu Raif is his first feature film.
Correct.
And it won the Sundance Film Festival World Cinema Audience Award in 2008. Maybe I missed saying that. And also the movie was Jordan's first entry to the Oscars in that year, right?
Yeah, and also I really watched him as he grew, and then when the movie got made, he came to DC, and he had a private screening in DC for organized by the Jordanian embassy, and that was when I actually got to meet him for the first time.
Yes.
And I found out that we're actually second cousins. As you know, all Jordanians are second cousins, and it was amazing. And then we stayed in touch, and now we're always like, we share our work. I share some of my writings, he shares some of his writing, he gives me feedback, advice, and vice versa. So we kept in touch, all during these years.
That's wonderful. Amin is joining us now, and he's online with us. Amin is joining us from Los Angeles, California. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our guest for today, Mr. Amin Matalqa.
Hi.
Hello, Amin.
Hello, guys.
Hi, Amin.
Nice to see you.
Hi, nice to see
How are
you.
you today?
How are you?
Very good to see you, Amin. I'm very honored to meet you. This is our first meeting online. We had some offline meetings, but this is our first actual meeting online. I'm very pleased. I have watched two of your movies, Captain Abu Raif and The Rendezvous, and I really enjoyed them, especially Abu Raif. You made me cry at the end.
Oh,
Why
good.
did you do that?
Sorry.
Why did you do that?
Well, I think we all go to the movies to feel something, so
Exactly.
that's the goal. But hopefully, also make you laugh as well. So
It was a very good show. Very wise decision to make it Jordan's first entry to the Oscars, and congratulations for the Sundance Award.
Thank you.
You're very
Finally, 13 years later, we're still talking about Abu Raif. But yes, thank you.
Well, you
for watching.
have an award, so we have to say
Thanks for
thank you.
having me. Yeah.
You're welcome, Amin. Amin, I want to ask you about Abu Raif. Let's start from this movie because it's still fresh in my mind, and I have so many questions regarding this movie. I love the analogy. This is what I understood from the movie. The analogy between dreaming and flying. Was I right in this feeling? Because flying is the main concept. Abu Raif told the kids that he's a pilot. I don't want to spoil the movie, but this is what I get from it. So what was the main intention, or what was the main idea in your mind behind writing the script and the story for Captain Abu Raif?
Well, I mean, I my father was a pilot, and my brother is a pilot, and I grew up next to the airport in Ohio. So inevitably, you write what you live with in a way. So aviation kind of found itself into the theme, and I've always been interested in not so much in flying, but in dreaming. And but more significantly, that was kind of the dressing on the film, but the real substance of the film that I was after from the inception of the idea was the social class difference. And that's a theme that I've always been fascinated by and curious about, and just interested in exploring. And we're all human, and we're born into different social classes. And it's really a film about the barrier between the rich and the poor and how they can all kind of connect. And it's kind of a fable. So that's maybe that's why it resonated globally as well, because it's a movie that transcends time and place, but it ages, I think, pretty well. And it talks about finding hope in dreams, and how an unlikely person can make a difference in someone else's life when they don't even expect it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's very nice. I don't want to spoil the movie. Hopefully, many other people want to watch it.
It's available on Amazon Prime or iTunes if anybody.
It's available. I watched it on Amazon Prime. Yes, the kids in the movie, they were brilliant. How did you do the casting? How did you find your actors?
We went to the refugee camp, 6 different refugee camps around Amman and outside of Amman, Irbid. And so 11 of the kids were from the camps, or actually 10 of the kids were from the camps. One was from Salt, one was from Mukhayyam al-Irbid, Mukhayyam Hussein. I mean, we had different camps, but we had a very unusual auditioning process because it wasn't a typical audition where they come in and act. I just interviewed them and got to know them one by one, and kind of look in their eyes and you see so much intelligence. They were not actors. They were just really gifted kids who had so much to express. Yeah.
Who loved to act, obviously.
We had an amazing bond. From rehearsal, we kind of developed I want to say nonverbal way of communicating. By the second week of shooting, it was a 4-week shoot. By the second week of shooting, it was like, okay, because we talked about all that stuff beforehand and we primed the material.
Yes.
But when we were shooting, it was an intangible way to describe. It's not like directing Grown Up where you're talking about acting technique or anything like that, which as a director you shouldn't talk about acting technique. But it's very simple language. You talk about what they want and what's in their way, and they get it. There's a maturity to their mannerisms as long as you cast the right people, and I think I got very lucky with finding them.
And I have another question about the location. I'm familiar with Amman, but I didn't know which part of Amman. Obviously, it's one of the poor areas in Amman, but I don't know exactly where in Amman was this set.
I mean, we blended. It was a hybrid. Some scenes we filmed by the Citadel, the Roman columns.
Yes.
And then some scenes we filmed in Salt, actually, because the limestone and the arched windows are just more fabulesque than some of the architecture you find in Amman. It's that Jerusalem stone.
Yeah.
So it had a more cinematic look with the steps and everything. So we kind of, one scene you see him going up the steps in Salt, and the next shot it picks up he's coming up the steps. So we kind of blended it, and I was worried that people would call that out, but at the end of the day, the magic of cinema is that the audience, as long as they're engaged with this,
yeah. So that terrace with the place where he called the terrace, was it real? Was that a real Amman, or it was a blend between Amman?
No, that was in Ashrafiyya in East Amman. Yes, yes, yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Let me call Natasha. Maybe she has another question about the movie. Go ahead, Natasha, please.
Sure. So, I'm really interested in the kids in the movie, and I want to know how their life, if actually it changed after this movie. So, what happened to them after the movie? How becoming stars changed their life? Did it change it to the best or to the worst? I mean, how are they doing now?
Well, my 2 primary kids, I'm still very much in touch with. Not just in touch with. We're pretty regular. But Hussein, who played Murad, the thing is, we had to kind of temper expectations after the film and just make sure that they understand that this is just an isolated, weird experience they're going to go on, and then it's strange to go back to life as normal. But my biggest piece of advice to Hussein and Uday really took to this advice, was like to learn English. It was a strange thing, but I felt like this is the one piece of advice I can give you, and exploit the film as much as you can to any ambitions you have. And certainly Uday has really done that. He's very fluent in English. I think he speaks also Turkish now. He went into hip hop after the film and did a theater group, and he traveled around Europe and went on to live in Turkey, and is now doing he's in college in Lebanon doing studying cinema, directing, filmmaking. So I think it made a small impact on his life, but that's the magic of connecting in a way. We don't talk about it very much, but here we are, 13 years after Abu Raif, 14 years after filming.
Almost, yeah.
And we actually 14 years after filming this week. We started filming in May 2007. And the film is done. It's become its own thing, but life continues, and we're still very much connected. And maybe I can say it here on the podcast, a little bit of exclusive news for those who know Captain Abu Raif.
Yay!
Well, we have
I am actually working on the continuation of Tariq's story. Uday, who plays the boy who sells the biscuits in the film, I'm writing the continuation of his story. And here we find him, 15 years later, by the time we make this movie. And it has elements of real life, but also it's its own movie at the same time. And it stands on its own. It's not connected to Abu Raif you don't have to know Abu Raif. You can just watch this film. But definitely it is also connected to Abu Raif. Hopefully after you see this film, you'll want to see the original film. There's a meta kind of quality. It's about the same themes, the social divide, the social class divide, the dreaming and wanting to break out of the social class that you're stuck in a way.
Lovely.
Wow. So the movie, you're gonna write it and you're gonna direct it. Is gonna be an independent movie, or are you gonna be working with a big production company, or what's your plans for distributing it?
So I'm in the middle of writing it now.
Okay.
As it is with all things that are cinema, unless it's financed by a studio, you are in the world of independent until somebody buys it. Yeah. So right now,
maybe after this podcast,
if you have money, send it my way. I'm happy to take it. If a Netflix or whoever takes interest in financing it, that would make life a lot easier. As we know, for every movie you make, you spend your time working on 6, 7, 8, 10 movies to greenlight them. But this one for me is a special one. I think the story just hit me very quickly. I actually tried to write a version of this story 7 years ago. I tried to continue his story, but it wasn't the right time and it wasn't the right story. And it just kind of stayed in my mind it's something I want to do eventually. And the reason is because I leave his story open-ended in the film, and every Q&A I did after the film, the first question I would hear was what happens to Tariq?
I was having the same question, and I was about to ask you this question. Why did you leave it open-ended? Why did you give us an open-ended ending to Abu Raif's movie?
Oh, to Abu Raif? Well, I mean, Abu Raif's not an open ending so much as a Hada, but Tariq is an open ending, right? It's you don't know what happens to him. Abu Raif, fate has it where he makes the ultimate sacrifice to kind of set Murad free. But spoiler alert, sorry.
Yeah. I was about to
15 years later, we can give it away. But Tariq's story, I left open ended because not every problem gets solved in life, and it felt right. It didn't feel like every kid should have a solution to their life, And there's a nice handoff in the film. The movie started it started out following Tariq's story, but it does a switch right in the midpoint of the film, and suddenly you realize, oh wait, this is not just a happy-go-lucky movie. It's actually a lot darker and deeper, and hopefully more meaningful than just everybody is happy telling stories.
That's awesome. So we have the scoop now. Can I take you back to Abu Raif? Because I have so many questions, but I want to try to make them as concise as possible.
Okay.
The relationship between Abu Raif, the kids, Nura the pilot, and the rest of the characters are all connected through flying. You know, this idea kept lingering throughout the movie until the very end.
Yes.
Even the salvation, which came at the end, which I'm not going to say to who, came through flying as well.
Yes.
And the two characters fled an abusive relationship in order to start a new life. How did you start this? How could you manage to start this connection between the characters? Like Abu Raif is a janitor. He's no one to that pilot, Nura. But then you established a friendship between Nura and Abu Raif, which eventually led to the ultimate event. So
yes.
How could you put that together? I mean,
many rewrites.
Many.
I wrote this movie. I wrote about 30 drafts of this movie, and Natasha can tell you, I think she read one of the early drafts where there was no conflict in the movie, and everybody was just like a portrait of Amman, but without us. It was a constant search of what's the story? How do I dramatize it? How do I not verbalize it through dialogue, but tell it through interaction and not show? I was learning how to make the movie while making it, and I was learning how to write the movie while writing it, and I think that's kind of the thing with filmmaking is maybe it's the thing with all things in real life. If you're comfortable doing the thing that you're doing, then you're missing out on an opportunity to grow and learn. And so I just kept following the characters in a way where they start telling you what the film is about. I wasn't trying to imitate anything. I was just really exploring. And it's interesting. One of the people who ended up investing in the film, he read the third draft of the script, which I was very proud of at the time. And he said, "I'm going to be in LA. He was Jordanian. He said, "I'm going to be in LA. Let's meet." And he said. You have some interesting things in here, but if I were you, I put that away and I would start writing the movie from scratch, like a whole new page. And I thought, what does he know? I went home really angry. Does he know how hard 3 months I spent working on this thing? Thank you for the comments, by the way. I'm showing
the comments on the screen. So if you like to write anything to Amin, please go ahead.
And if you have questions too.
Yes.
But anyways, I went home. I was really upset that he did not understand how hard I worked on this film. And then a couple of days later, I was like, maybe he's right. And I just started writing it from a brand new white page. And it's the thing, you have to, if something is worthwhile, you have to keep working really, really hard to try to find the jewel in you're just sculpting. It's like finding, you have a stone and then you have to keep sculpting it, shaping it, and then, it's never done until you it's never done until you're in the music is done and the edit is done and the color correction is done. Filmmaking is a constant process. And even there are several scenes that we shot that we, as you do with movies, you shoot a bunch of scenes, you work very hard on them, and then you end up saying, "Oh, I realized that we don't need those in the film." And so I have a really cheesy scene towards the end of the film that could have ruined the whole film. A really cheesy moment that just did not need to be in the story. So you leave room for the audience to participate in the storytelling, and I think that's where, you can engage the audience. Anyways.
Yeah, that's the magic of the movies. That's how it starts, right? So you let the people anticipate and go with the flow.
Yeah, you give them 2 + 2, but you don't have to say 2 + 2 = 4 because blah 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 blah.
True. So I mean, I know you came to the United States at a young age. I learned this fact from you when we were talking in our previous conversations. And you consider yourself an American, but you have also inside you the Jordanian heritage and your Arabian
Of
roots.
course, you can take the Jordan out of Jordan, the Jordanian out of Jordan, but you can't take the Jordan out of the Jordanian.
No. So how much has this influenced you and influenced your work in the United States? And also, I need to know, how does that help you in bridging the gap between East and West? Because you have mentioned that, and you made it as it's a statement even in your biography on your website. You said, my endeavor is to bridge the gap between East and West. So what are the actual steps that you've taken in your career in order to overcome this gap and get rid of it?
Well, there will always be a gap between East and West, but
definitely.
When I decided to make movies, as Natasha will tell you, I was making these short films. I left my life in Ohio with a business degree and a business career to come make movies out here in California, and I didn't really know how, but I was just like on a quest to pursue a very naive dream. But I think you need to be naive to dream, and not be intimidated by the uncertainties. I had a relative who told me when I first moved out here. She said, it's very hard. I said, yeah, well, yeah, yeah. So, you can't let that be the obstacle. But anyways, I didn't think I would be making films in Jordan because there was no industry in Jordan at the time. But I had a camera. I started making short films, meeting people in coffee shops and saying, hey, you want to collaborate? I can write a film for you. And I just started, I bought a camera and a kit and light kit and some sound equipment and just started shooting short films on my own. And then growing my team and learning from the people that I was collaborating with. And we made one short film a month. And I joined a group where we could critique each other's films and do all that stuff. And I thought I'd be making films here. But then I went to Jordan for a couple of weeks in the summer of 2003 or 2004. And I made a short about a guy who locks himself up in the bathroom. And it was just for fun, like with my friends in Amman. And I just posted it on my website for fun, and people started sharing it. This is before YouTube, even 2003, 2004. And then there was like interest. And then I made another one about a girl trying to park her car, and all these guys from the street getting, in the way and like trying to tell her how to park. And, it was for fun. I was making shorts for the fun of making movies because I was excited about, ideas. If I have an idea, I don't just talk about it. I want to make it into a movie. And so we did that. And then that got like 200,000 hits on YouTube in 2005. I was like, whoa, this is
serious.
Yeah. So then that kind of became like an interesting thing. And then I got accepted at the American Film Institute at the time. So I started studying cinema. And my friend Laith Majali introduced me to David Pritchard, the producer who worked on The Simpsons and Family Guy. And he had been developing some animated thing in Jordan with some people there. And he said, instead of making an American film, you had to make a Jordanian feature. And that night, I started sketching out ideas for Captain Abu Raif. That was the same year that my grandfather had passed away. And so there's an essence of his kind of humble man on the street. You don't know how much he's seen and how wise he is if you just see him walking. But he was actually a doctor and a pilot and a violin player and a poet, and he spoke all these languages. And I'm like, wow, there's something there. And so I started so I was like, oh, what do I make of him? I'll make him the janitor. Anyways, I'm on a tangent. The idea became like, once Captain Abu Raif became, once it went to Sundance and all this stuff, then the Disney movie came to me. I didn't write it. It was written by Nizar Watad, but it was in development at Disney, and they wanted to make a movie in the Middle East. So initially it was going to be in Egypt, but we moved it to Jordan with a multi-Arab national cast. And so I found myself
we're talking here about the
United. Yes, sorry. Yes, United, which is a soccer movie. It's not an animated film.
Yes.
And I found myself in this position where I'm like, okay, I'm the guy who's making movies to bridge the gap. I wanted to make Hollywood movies, but this is my calling. But then I was like, okay, well, I want to make an American movie. So I made Strangely in Love after that. And had nothing to do with the Middle East.
No.
And then another film came to me, The Rendezvous, which is an American film in the Middle East. And now I'm working on and then, Netflix show in the Middle East, they called me up to do. So it's you try to find, it's very hard to survive in this world of filmmaking. And so you go where the opportunities arise. But I realized that I can't pretend that I'm not, a Jordanian-American with a unique position to be able to use the opportunity to tell stories in Amman or in the Middle East, where I can make movies and hopefully illuminate, humanize the Arab world in a non-political way. I have very little interest in politics. I think it just sends people in circles and loops. So my agenda has always been just humanize. We're all humans trying to survive and trying to have dreams, and the world keeps tugging at us to get upset about things that are way beyond our control. And so if I can make Arabs into humans through universal stories, that's maybe my position.
Yes.
So
before we move on to talk about the rest of the movies like Rendezvous and your experience with Netflix, thank you for giving me the director's reel video. I'm about to show to the audience and to Natasha to watch together, like a glimpse of your entire work and portfolio. And after that, we will start asking you questions maybe about Rendezvous, and if Natasha have anything else to say about the rest of the work. So let's watch the director's reel.
Thank you.
Beautiful, no?
That's it uses the music from Cinema Paradiso by Ennio Morricone from the beginning and the end of the thing, but the middle of it is the action music from Rendezvous.
Yes. Thank
I
you.
want to ask you, I
Power of
mean,
music. Sorry. Yeah.
about a topic. So as a creative myself, and I can be in the public sphere as well. We get criticized a lot. We get positive and negative feedback, and my question is twofold. The one is, how do you deal with the negative criticism? How does it affect your psyche, if actually it does? And I think one of maybe the biggest criticism that I've seen was in regards to the Netflix show Jinn, where some said that it kind of defied our culture, the Arab cultural norms, due to some scenes that they felt they crossed some red lines in the Arab world. So how do you respond to that, and how do you deal with negative criticism in general?
Well, it's very funny because my first experience with that was with Abu Raif. After all the praise, all the blah blah, all the awards, all the audience awards, all this stuff, and then one guy says, "This movie is like, whatever, like something negative, or some poorly made, badly edited, blah 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 blah," and then the I couldn't stop thinking about, like, but why could this not person love what I've just poured my heart into, so you can't, maybe it's human nature. You can't ignore the naysayers, because it's we want to be appreciated or loved or whatever, especially if you feel like something you've done is worthwhile. Which in the case of over multiple films, you learn to just develop thicker skin and say, well, I've made it, now it's not in my control anymore. If you like it, great. If you don't like it, you don't have to watch it. In the case of Jinn, I think what happened was, first of all, Jinn wasn't my show. I was hired to direct on it. It was someone else's show. It was a job for hire, so I can't claim the responsibility for the choice to make the kind of things a little edgy. But having said that, there was a little bit of edge in my episodes, but I think it was a little romantic, but nothing crossing the line. But I think what happened with the case of Jinn is someone took 30 seconds of bits of all the cursing on the show, and one scene of two kids making out, which in any American show is nothing. It's in the dark. You don't see anything. And they unleashed the imagination of a nation, saying this is pornography, this is blah, blah, blah. This is before anyone saw the show, people were venting their anger at this madness. But if you see the show, it's very tame. It's nothing. So I think the choices there were like, there was a malicious funnel of, let's create a movement of anger, and all these people were like, yalla, get angry at this thing, and there was no way to reason with that. So I think that was very unreasonable criticism for something that was pretty innocent. As far as, and also maybe a hostility towards the upper class, because the show represented the 0.1 minority of a certain demographic in the school. But you can't control these things. So my reaction to it is, as long as everybody's safe at the end of the day, it made international headlines and gave the show much more attention. Not the way we wanted it. I wish the show were a better show from a creative standpoint. Like, we tried to do things, but the story kept changing in the edit and how to. So I would defend it more if that were the case. But it had good things in it, and I'm proud to have participated in it, and the kids were great to act. The actors were fantastic, and most of them were just first-time actors, and they came ready to do anything on the show. So kudos to them.
Will there be a second season? Do you know?
No. I heard there's a second season.
No, there will not be. I mean, I don't think so. But you never know. But I don't think so. there's a lot of other stories to explore. As far as I know, maybe there is someone cooking one, but I don't think so.
Yeah. I mean, I need to ask you about Rendezvous. We saw some parts of the director's reel of the film, some snippets, and I need to ask you about the story because while I was watching this movie, I was watching it this morning actually, and I felt I was watching an Indiana Jones slash James Bond kind of movie. So this is how I felt. I like the storyline, where you take us back to Jordan. It's an American girl who goes back to Jordan looking for looking for the truth behind her brother's passing, and then she realized a connection to his death to the Dead Sea Scrolls. So all of that,
the big burrito.
Exactly. So how did you come up with this idea? It was.
It wasn't my idea. I was hired to direct that one.
Okay.
But I was.
Sorry. So you weren't writing this movie.
No,
you only directed it.
No, I wrote the action. I wrote the action sequences in the middle when they get kidnapped and they wake up in the bunker, and then the desert chase and all. So I wrote that, but informally. It wasn't my script. I was hired by Dan Halstead, who is a producer here in town in LA. Who they wanted initially to make this movie in Spain, England, San Francisco, and Jerusalem, and Egypt. And it was like a $50 million ambitious script when I first read it. And they said, well, we want to do this in Jordan. So that's why we're talking to you, because you're the Jordan guy. So I was like, okay, let me read the script. I read it. And I said, okay, so you want to do all of that in Jordan? Here's how I would approach it. We cast some internationals. Yes, we're talking about the Rendezvous. We cast some internationals. So we went to Spain for one of the characters, and then some American and a Belgian, and we redesigned the script so that it kind of used the locations. So it starts in LA, and then it goes to Amman, and then it goes from Amman. Suddenly they wake up, they're in the desert, and then Wadi Rum, and then it culminates in Petra, and then comes back to LA. So I was like, let's rejig this jigsaw puzzle around because didn't have anything to do with the Dead Sea Scrolls, and that was like what they call the MacGuffin, this little device that drives the chase. I actually have the prop, which is the scroll from the movie here. This is like
yes, I saw that.
This is what all these characters die chasing after.
My god, I want
the magic of movies. It's just a dirty piece of a prop that our prop master made. So, it's nothing, or maybe it's very precious.
Precious.
So, and I have Abu Raif's hat there. Anyways,
how much are you asking for it? I can buy it.
Yes, maybe one day. But anyways, we cast Stana Tariq, who we went to her with the idea, and she loved the idea of shooting something in Jordan. And it was a small $3.5 million budget, but we had to compete with the to kind of have action set pieces and car chases and things like that. But they were done on a small scale, so we couldn't compete with the big movies. But what we could have without an expensive budget is chemistry between our actors and injecting a sense of humor throughout that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was the thing that was driving, and amazing locations across Amman, across Jordan. I mean,
it's a nice polyglot of humor, fantasy, action, love, and like you said, the chemistry between the two main characters. Where is the guy from? His name is Raza
Jaffrey. He's actually he's a mix. He's Muslim from. Well, he grew up in the U.S. No, he grew up in England. Sorry. But he lives in the U.S. He's a hybrid, Pakistani and Indian.
Okay.
And I think he did a good job. I initially wanted to have like an actual Arab person in the Arab role, but it was one of those situations where um, the chemistry between them in the read was really, really terrific. So that's the producer's choice to go that route, and Reza really killed it when we were filming. He brought his 200%.
Yes.
So he was great to work with, and Stana was just a pure joy. We still hang out when we can.
She is, yeah, and she was in the movie.
We still the show, like the camera just wants to look at,
the camels liked her.
The camera.
Oh, the camera! I thought you said the camels liked her.
I'm sure the camels liked
Natasha, do you want to ask a question for our guest, and before I move to the other one?
Yeah, my question is about the future of the movie industry in general, which is a bit before the COVID-19 pandemic. We started seeing shift towards streaming, and then when the pandemic happened, we realized that the big movie production companies are sending the movies directly to streaming devices and skipping the movie theaters. So my question, which is, you might be offended, but do you think do you think the movie theaters are dead or on the verge of being extinct? Is that where the future is?
Yes.
I don't
Are
think
they going to be replaced by streaming?
Yeah, exactly.
No, I don't think so. I really don't think so. I mean, I don't know. I don't have the answer, but I think in the short term they're in trouble because of the pandemic. It really hurt the industry, but they'll come back. Humans want the communal feeling of being in the cinema, experiencing movies with other people. To go to the movies and feel something with a crowd of strangers that you don't know in the dark, you come out of that, it's a completely different experience than watching a movie at home with your phone running, interrupting, and there's a special experience about something that you remember the movies that you saw in the theater different than how you remember the movies that you just watched at home while you were falling asleep, while your kid was crying. So I don't think the movies are dead. They're in a hard place. It's a tough time right now, and the model definitely has to evolve. But they are going to streaming now. But no, I think we will still want. In a year, we'll be like, oh, wow, remember when we thought the movies are dead? I don't think they will. I went to the movies for the first time in a year and a half. I saw Nobody, the Bob Odenkirk action movie, and I felt like a kid discovering the movies all over again. I couldn't wait to go to the movies again. Now, okay, I'm a different, but I'm not even the average moviegoer. I think moviegoers, teenagers in particular, want to go and hang out together and go to the movies, and families want to take their kids on an outing and go see a movie. Movies are not going away. Movie theaters are not going away. We need entertainment we need storytelling to survive, and there's room for that. It's just a question of how are the movie theaters going to navigate this part where people are kind of, let's see how much comfort there is in going back to the movies and and being in a crowded room, with all the year of wearing masks and being isolated inside indoors. It's going to take a little bit of time for people to come back to normal, but I don't think theaters are going away.
Lovely. So, we all love the movies, and every human beings love movies to a certain extent. And we all find ourselves sometimes go to the movies or watch movies in order to leave a certain impact in us or learn something from those movies. For you, I felt there is a common denominator or a common thread that links all your works together or all your movies together, which is dreaming. What dreaming represents? What does it represent to you? How do you feel about dreaming, and why do we see it there? It's like it's a lingering theme that repeats itself in many of your works. So Amin and dreams. How do they?
Because what's life without it? I mean, escapism. We all in our own private ways have longing for some magic in life, right? I mean, I think if life is just about going to work and coming home and going to work and coming to, we need magic. We need magic. We need storytelling. And for me, the movies are, I mean, I grew up on Spielberg and Chaplin and Hitchcock, and, you know, those are my heroes. And their films colored this, they were the spice of my life as a kid. The magic of the movies and music, you know, the music in, not songs, I'm talking about film music, the score, the orchestra,
Yes.
accompanying the image on the screen. You see Elliot flying with ET, you see Superman flying. Yes, I guess it is all flight in the end of the day. But the magic of dreaming is absolutely crucial to life. It's very funny because as an Arab, we live in a culture that is very conservative in terms of, like, you know, career. They don't necessarily encourage a career in the arts because it is a struggle and it's not easy. But nobody goes into the arts to make money. You go into the arts because you have something to say or you have something to search for. And for me, I left a comfortable life to, you know, in the telecom world when I had a business career living in a business suit, to make this journey. And it really is still to this day is a flame that is very angry, you know, not angry in a way. It's a very living flame that wants to express itself through cinema, through music, through storytelling. And, you know, Natasha, you read some of my short stories, very different medium, but there's something that is very fulfilling about creating from scratch. And for me, writing is hand in hand with directing. I don't want to just direct, I want to write and direct. Yes. And creating stories to connect with others, or just for the sake of my own self-entertainment, whatever it is. At the end of it used to be when I moved here to make movies, it used to be about, like, I want to leave something behind that's like my legacy, or I don't want to vanish from existence without having left an artistic mark in the world. I don't necessarily think that's that was a little naive, I think, because everything is temporary anyways. Everything will vanish. Yes. Maybe Beethoven's Ninth will continue to linger across time, but like, we'll all vanish at the end of the day. But live a life of fulfillment creatively is the ultimate. If you can find a way to do that and survive financially, is the ultimate goal. You know, that's for me. It's a good way to live, and you know, hopefully, have my daughter be participant in experiencing what I created. As she grows up, she discovers the things that I created, and that'll be nice too. You know,
beautiful. I have a question from one of our audience, Duarte Augusto. He's asking, how about dreaming up a magical movie of how humanity gets out of this crazy pandemic? Is that possible? Good vibes.
I'm sure many people have started writing movies about the pandemic, but I think any movie not about the pandemic is the answer to that question. Because I went to see Nobody. I don't know, I'm like advertising this movie now, but it's so entertaining and so violent but funny. And you go to the movies to escape and to kind of get away. And I had such a great time in the movie theater. It's fantastic. So this year has been a rough year on all of us. But we've lost a lot of people, and right now the world is, the Arab world is watching some awful cruelties. So how can we talk about like entertainment when this is going on? True. But we need stories, we need movies, we need things to kind of give us a sense of escapism, I think, So I'm trying to read the comments while answering.
Yes. From Samah Al-Dhahabi, she's saying, thanks Natasha, Zyad, Amin. I like those episodes about movies, movie series, and artistic criticism. Reminds me of university days when we analyzed drama and fiction. Very entertaining. Thank you.
Yeah. Ahla sahla.
So I mean, one of the things that I always think about as a creative person is your time management, and how do you, like, what's the structure of your day? And the reason I ask this is maybe to help other creators, since you've been doing this for a while. Do
Yeah.
you wait for inspiration? Do you follow a rigid routine? How do you manage it all, and how do you manage to stay focused when, especially because you work for yourself, you're an independent
Yeah.
creator?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's hard. It's hard, especially when you have a baby.
yeah,
Uh, especially when you have a baby in the pandemic. um, but you know, I used to, like, my routine used to be, I would wake up, go hiking with my dogs, and then you know, shower, and then write from like 8 or 8:30 till 2 in the afternoon, just like be, and not necessarily constantly sitting writing, but actually dream. You know, you have to give yourself the space to dream. And then in the afternoon, I do all the business calls and the emails and all that stuff. Uh, that was my structure, 7 days a week. You know, I always had that. And then in the evening, I could just have time for my own personal life. Now it's wake up with Zoe, baby, play with her, walk with the dog, Migo, my beast, and then come back home. Meg takes Zoe, and then I try to carve 3 hours, maybe, if I'm lucky. If I'm not on a teaching day, because I teach over Zoom now with AFI, but if I have time, like, that's my business time, because I'm also doing a gig in Saudi Arabia. That's but if I have writing time, uh, I squeeze as much as I can urgently in those two, if I'm lucky, 3 hours, and then the rest of the day I'm like just juggling all this other stuff. And then at night, when everybody goes to sleep, I try to stay till like midnight, squeeze in an hour of just clear, not nodding off time of writing. As you know, I'm sure you have the similar thing where you try to wake up a little extra early. But I wake up at 5 and I go to sleep at midnight, almost every night. And so I get 5 hours of sleep, and my lull is in the afternoon. I'm like a zombie in the afternoon.
yeah.
But that's what I've been at, and I'm juggling a lot of things. I'm working on a TV show of my own. I'm working on another movie. I'm going to shoot a movie over the summer, and I have my animated movie, and there's a lot of things going on. So when I'm shooting, it'll be different. But
Yes. I have a question from another question. Of course, all questions are welcomed. Maybe it's time now to receive questions from our audience. This question comes from Darren Andrew. When writing or creating a story, do you visualize? How would you shoot a scene, or do you think story only? Trying to understand if the story can be influenced by visuals.
hey, Darren, good to see you from South Africa, from Durban. My buddy Darren, we hung out in Italy, actually. So when writing crazy, I mean, I see some visuals, but I don't necessarily try to think of camera shots or lens choice in writing, because there's just I just try to think of story and character interaction and relationship. But sometimes you get hit with strong visuals, and I think I am a visual person more than anything else. Or, as you know, big film music fan that you are, you'll kind of be inspired by a piece of music, and you will see a very clear and hear a very clear moment, and so you build a whole thing around that moment, around the visual, and those are the things that you hope to always get, but they don't necessarily drive the action. Most of the time it's character and central relationship between characters. So, you know, that's kind of the engine, I think, and story, of course. You know, what the character is facing and why they're doing what they're doing, and how they're growing or changing, or how they're being challenged.
Another question from Wendy Meridian. I may have missed it coming in late, but what does Amin have in pipeline for Arab film?
So I have a few things. One I mentioned earlier, Wendy. Hi, Wendy. You can check it out later. But I am continuing Tariq's story from Abu Raif. I'm writing that now. I have a movie called Fuji Hustle, a ping pong hustle movie with a Syrian refugee in the US. If anybody has financing, send it my way. I'm shopping that around with my manager. And then I have a TV show that I wrote called Voltage. It's a supernatural comedy, black comedy. We'd say superhero social comedy. I initially wrote it set in the Middle East, but actually I changed it so it's set in the US with Arab American characters. I think that'll be fun to do here. And then, of course, I have Hump, my animated film. But over the summer, I'm shooting a movie that has nothing to do with the Middle East. It's again a movie for hire, a directing for hire gig. So, yeah, those are the immediate ones, and then there's some other things here and there.
Okay, I have a question. How about young talents and novice actors or acting enthusiasts? Do you have any program or support any organization or something that helps those newcomers to movie making and acting? Do you look for those talents? Do you support bringing them from the Middle East or those who have actually immigrated or lived in North America? What's your plans regarding that issue?
I don't have actually. I don't have a program or a plan or anything. I wish I did. I mean, I wish there was. I wish there was an easier way to find talent. But I think I have a friend who's working on an app. I think that will maybe help with that. I know that it's you get to make a movie every 2-3 years. You spend so much time between movies that it's hard to. I wish I had more projects where I could have a constant stream of. Of a link into a talent pool, but there's few and far between known actors from our part of the world. But there are definitely more and more actors from our part of the world here in the US and over there that are really impressive. Have you seen the movie 200 Meters, by the way? Ali Suleiman in it. It's incredible.
No.
Palestinian film.
No, 200 meters.
It comes out in the US sometime soon. Amin Matalqa, his first film, amazing film.
Is it on Netflix or not yet? Or
it's not on Netflix yet, but it just got picked up for distribution.
Oh wow!
Amazing film. I don't know why I just jumped on that, but it's so inspiring to see new directors and young filmmakers making incredible. I wish my first film was that good. It's so good, so nuanced, and Abu Raif is a little bit of a melodrama. This movie is very real. I mean, it's very different. I'm not comparing, but this movie is very grounded and very realistic and very nuanced and very measured and very and funny and very human. It's about basically a Palestinian guy trying to cross basically 200 meters to go see his family, but he has to go all the way around the wall.
Oh,
and it's his journey to go see his family, and it's so good. It's amazing.
Checkpoints and barriers and whatnot, right?
It's a journey film. Him in the car with the group of people, and they all don't, they have to kind of get along and not trust each other and all this stuff.
I mean, a question coming to you from Canada. This is Samah Al-Zahabi again. She's asking, are you considering Canada for shooting some movies?
Actually, our animated film, we just may do the animation in Canada, in Vancouver Island, because of the tax incentives they have there. I would happily shoot a film in Canada if that's where the location takes me. I know Canada has great tax incentives for movies. I can't wait to make. I wish it was easier to make movies. When I initially, after Abu Raif, I was like, oh, I want to make one movie a year. I wish it was in my control so I could make movies everywhere. I don't, you go where you're able to make the film.
Yes.
This next one, I think we're going to end up shooting in Arkansas this summer. Was not my top choice, but that's where the production finance structure is going to lead us to. So So yeah, if I have the chance to work in Canada, I would love to. I have family up there. I have family in Ottawa, actually.
There you go. I'm in Ottawa. I'll be happy to meet you there.
We'll cast Zyad in the
Count me in. Natasha, do you have any other questions for our guest, please?
I think my last
Before we wrap up.
Yeah, I mean, as we wrap up, is like quick 5 tips that would you give for aspiring movie makers? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh,
like
okay.
Like us.
Yeah, aspiring filmmakers. Okay.
Aspiring, or
alright.
creatives
5
in
tips.
general. Yeah.
Okay, creatives or filmmakers? Well, actually, I'll make it broader. Make it for all creatives. So they have the first one would be just do it every day for the sake of doing it. You know, Stephen King talks about process. It is about process, not about end result. It's the end result will happen in the process. So just have the discipline to do it every day, even if you don't succeed every day. Chase after it every day. Do the writing every day. If you're writing, write every day. If you're pursuing directing, it's like a constant engine that needs to be moving all the time. You got to be growing and learning and doing and pursuing. And so that the same goes to, by the way, looking for places to get financing. You got to chase after it almost every day to try to find ways to make things happen so that it eventually something will crack. And the same thing is with writing is rewriting. You write and rewrite and rewrite and rewrite. Okay, so that's first. 2, don't try to be perfect. Don't pursue perfection, because that can become very much an obstacle. If you're trying to be perfect, then you're going to become hesitant to search for the thing. Just do it, and then refine later. So that's the second thing, I think, whether it's writing or whatever you're tackling in a creative life. Just do it. Again, it ties to the first one, but don't be afraid of bad writing. Pursue the bad ideas. They might lead you to better ideas. Third, surround yourself with things that inspire you, because that will, you can't be a writer if you don't read. You can't be a good writer if you don't read things that really you got to feed your imagination. You got to feed your understanding of the medium. You got to feed your understanding. You got to watch movies if you want to write movies. You got to watch TV series if you want to write TV. Whatever. But you got to consume things and take them in, and of course live and be alive and take things, whether they're from real life or from but ideas will come to you that way. And then the fourth would be, nobody's made anything that's completely original. Sometimes you have to take 2 different ideas, but where you shine as a creative is combining the unique ideas, bringing them together so that they are something new. So as an example, when I made Strangely in Love, which is my romantic comedy, I'm proud of. We made it on a tiny budget, $65,000. But we made it. It was like, okay, I want to take a Dostoevsky Russian short story, but look at it through the prism of a Chaplin-esque movie, and not necessarily a silent film, but like with the whimsy of a Charlie Chaplin film. And it was this combination that, like, as a philosophy, I've clashed them into each other, and something new came out. And I feel like something original came out.
It reminds me of that book. I'm not sure if you read it, by Austin Kleon, called "Steal Like an Artist."
Haven't read it.
It's a very short book. It's basically the idea that you can take different ideas from different people, and that nothing is original in general. So the title is "Steal Like an Artist." So
Steal like an artist, but I don't necessarily mean like copy paste. But
no, you refine it.
I'm not a fan of like stealing literally, like obviously, but it's undeniable that the power of like searching for your voice and developing your voice will come from the inevitable consumption of other voices. We are all learning from each other and building on what previous generations have done. So, and then just don't give up on it. Don't do it. Don't let the don't let the fear of failure be in your way. Just do, if you really want it, you have to work for it, and you have to do it constantly and not give up. I mean, that's the biggest one. I think the enthusiasm for something is more important than the talent, actually. Your enthusiasm to make something is more significant than how good you are at it. I'm not the best filmmaker in the world by any means, by any even stretch of the imagination, but I know I want it so bad. So you gotta want it, or find your why, find your reason why you want it, and that will be your driving engine for your whole journey. The whole, why do you want to do this thing? What does it mean to you? And it will inevitably find itself in your material and why you make the material that you make.
Awesome. I mean, it was a very fantastic hour. We went over the hour 10 by 10 minutes. I never felt the time. That was really, really nice interview. And I really thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you.
and being part of our show, our podcast, actually.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much, Amin. There is another question coming to us. Well, first I have a comment from Wendy Merdian. Great points for creatives. She thanks you about that. And Samah is asking, is there a link we can see a list of your work and how to watch or buy the movie online, since we can't go to theaters now? Same for 200 meters. Is there a platform for North America produced movies with Arab actors, writers, and directors?
So for my own works, I have links where you can watch, Captain Abu Raif and The Rendezvous are both on Amazon Prime and on iTunes. The United, I have a Vimeo link on my website, and Strangely in Love's on iTunes, and you can rent it on Amazon as well. But I have links to everything where you can watch the things, and Jinn you can see on Netflix. But you can go to aminmatalqa.com, Matalqa with a Q, or I don't know if you guys want to put a link in there, but it's aminmatalqa.com, and I have links to all the stuff, all the. I don't have links to the shorts, but I have links to the features and where news updates and whatnot.
Yes.
So as far as 200 meters, I do know that again, it's not my movie, but I will promote it because it's an excellent movie. It got picked up for U.S. distribution by a distributor. I'm not sure where it will be, but I'm sure you'll see it somewhere. So keep an eye out for it. It's really good.
Good. So, Amin, thank you very much for being with us today. Thanks for the time, and thanks for responding to our audience questions. And I'm really looking forward for watching all of your movies and meeting you again to ask you about them.
Thank you. Thank you. Natasha's eyes were going like this, like she's like, something's off screen. Well, thank you so much. Good to see you guys, and have a lovely Sunday.
Thank you, Amin.
Thank you very much, Amin. Thank you.
Thank you.
And peace to all our brothers and sisters in Palestine.
Thank you, inshallah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
ExpaTalk is a podcast run by Natasha Tynes and Zyad Tariq Rasheed, two journalists of Arab origin based in North America. The podcast focuses on issues related to Arab affairs and of interest to Arabs across the globe. We interview entrepreneurs, artists, luminaries, and those who are working on exciting endeavors. Join us on this adventure as we talk to those who inspire us and make us think differently about the world. The podcast streams live on YouTube and can be heard on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SoundCloud.